Hello everybody! Today we're going to be talking about the 10 most disturbing books I have ever read. Now I always say to please check content warnings before reading any of the books that I recommend because they're obviously in the horror genre, but I especially mean it today because some of these books are in the extreme horror, splatterpunk genre, so that means that they are especially messed up and that is exactly what they are supposed to do. So let's get started with the first book. This one is kind of a warm-up. We're leading up to bigger and worse things, I assure you, and that is The Troop by Nick Cutter. The Troop is about a Boy Scout troop going on a camping trip to a remote island when they find it disrupted by an unexpected intruder. And this man that shows up, he is unnaturally hungry. They become exposed to this threat that this man brings with him. They're cut off from the world and the boys are forced to fight for their survival and try to escape. The Troop, I feel like, is still pretty mainstream for horror media. You can probably find this in a lot of bookshops, unlike some of the stuff that we'll get to later. But Nick Cutter still comes up with some absolutely disgusting, disturbing things. He does not hold back. But I did also really enjoy this book, but there are certain scenes involving animals in here that I don't like. So please be wary, keep that in mind when you're going into The Troop and also The Deep by Nick Cutter. I started that one and I didn't finish it because some of the animal scenes were just too much for me. Then next up, and we're starting to get into weird territory here, is 100% Match. This follows a man named Bart. He's a fast food fry cook. He's bold, he's overweight, he's also socially awkward and struggling with the ladies, but he is desperate to find the perfect match and is convinced that his statistical approach to this will help him find a girlfriend. But things very quickly spiral out of control and Bart begins to do increasingly disturbing things. Do not read this one if you are hungry or eating or anything to do with food. This one disturbed me less in regards to gore, but it will make you sick to your stomach. And that is why it is very deserving of going on this list. But also, I would love to point out that the way this one is written is very funny. It's very satirical, and that's why I still really recommend this book, even though it made me feel nauseous. Then next up, and one that is very tough, is The Laws of the Skies. This is about a class of young children that are going camping on a field trip, but sadly none of them return. I don't know what to say about this one other than it's very sad. The group starts to unravel in increasingly nightmarish ways. The ending has stuck with me, not in a good way. If you've read this and you know what it is one of my worst fears and I did not enjoy reading it one bit. Then we have just anything by Junji Ito. If you're not familiar with his work, he is a horror manga writer. He comes up with absolutely crazy, incredible concepts, but they are crazy and they are paired with just absolute nightmare fuel that is his illustrations. They are beautiful and very well done, but again, they will just stay with you and haunt you. One in particular that has really stuck with me is Uzumaki. It's one of his more popular ones, but this book is now the reason that I am afraid of snails. Uzumaki is about a town that is becoming slowly obsessed with spirals and things very quickly become out of control and take some very dark turns. Next up, and a book that I've seen talked about a lot, is obviously Playground by Aron Beauregard. It's about 3 low-income families that are given the chance of a lifetime. All they have to do is allow their children to test out a very revolutionary playground, but the woman behind this playground has very sinister intentions, and the kids have to fight for their survival through a series of very disturbing challenges and different playground equipment. This one was talked about so much on TikTok. I describe it as like a super disturbing version of Saw, but also with children. And I read the whole thing and it was very crazy. Also, I do love any book with kind of like a survival games vibe. Again, very reminiscent of Saw, but on an extreme level, and I love that franchise. So then we're gonna take a step back from the more extreme, gory books that are kind of just meant to shock you. And we're gonna talk about one that I actually also mentioned in my scariest books I've ever read video, and that is Penpal. A man is piecing together some eerie childhood memories that he has and mysterious events that began to happen to him after a school project, and looking through the lens of adulthood, he gradually unravels what happened to him and the disturbing pattern that has ended up shaping his entire life. This one is both scary and disturbing because it is just so creepy, and this one is a lot more grounded in reality compared to some of the other ones. When I finished it, I just kind of wanted to stare at a wall for a while. It will definitely leave you disturbed and feeling kind of empty. We are halfway through the most disturbing books I've ever read, and if you're enjoying this video so far, I would really appreciate if you subscribe. It means the world to me, and I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers before the end of the year, and I'm getting very close and would appreciate your help. Then next up we have Woom. In a dodgy motel room, two strangers share a series of very dark stories, each one kind of slowly revealing and unraveling this deeper mystery, the reasoning behind this hotel room in particular. This one goes on this list because I think it was the first ever extreme horror book that I read. It was definitely a crazy place to start, and I don't know whether it's just because I wasn't as desensitized back then as I am now, but there was a scene in this when I literally had to put the book down because I felt like I was either going to pass out or be sick, or both. The next one that I'm going to talk about is one of my favorite short story collections ever. Even though it is on this list of disturbing books, I still recommend it because some of the stories are just so out there, they're so creative, but they are also very weird. They're very surreal. One of the stories features a toilet monster, and another is about a family that specializes in making cursed items. Despite some of it being a bit gross, these are some of the coolest short stories that I've ever read, and also the cover is very pretty considering the contents. Now I have another one that was talked a lot about on TikTok, and that is Gone to See the Riverman. A woman is obsessed with a notorious serial killer that she's writing to in prison. She will do anything to please him, so one day when he offers her a task, she eagerly accepts. He sends her to find the mysterious Riverman, and she takes her handicapped sister with her, but their journey reveals some very dark truths about their past. This one I didn't love as much as other people do. I think maybe it was just the case of it's quite overhyped for me, but I cannot argue with the fact that this book is very disturbing. There are some undoubtedly messed up things in this, and I can see why it has become infamous on social media. Then lastly, we have the book that snowballed my journey back into the horror genre, and that is Tender is the Flesh. If you haven't heard of this book by now, it is set in a dystopian society where a deadly plague has made animal meat poisonous to humans, and so they come up with a way to make human meat legal, and they call it special meat. One day, a man that works at one of the factories receives a live specimen as a gift, and his life is turned upside down. I feel like this book is a little bit hit or miss with people. You either really like it or you really don't, and I am one of the people that really liked this book. I have since also read The Unworthy by Agustina Bazterrica, and I loved that one as well. That one also has some very disturbing stuff in it. The detail with which the meat process is gone into in some points in this book is unnecessary, and if I wasn't already a vegetarian at the point that I read this book, I feel like I would have been converted. So they are 10 of the most disturbing books that I have ever read. Some of these books I actually read quite a while ago. I feel like I haven't read any super disturbing extreme horror splatterpunk stuff recently, because sometimes real life is disturbing enough. They are just very bleak. Even though I still love to be scared, I love to be creeped out, I do also like stuff that doesn't leave me feeling completely empty. And that's why I've steered away from these books a little bit more in recent times. But you know, it's good to look after yourself as well when you're reading stuff like this. So please keep that in mind if you decide to check any of these out. If you like this video and want more horror recommendations, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Bye.